Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP Launchpad and Fiori Web IDE training. In the last class, we have discussed about how to create SAP Fiori Launchpad user, create the necessary role for the Launchpad administrator and the users. And then we also saw how does the backend RFC connectivity makes an impact on the user which is connecting to the backend system. Towards the end of the session, we also saw how to configure SAP Fiori Launchpad, how to grant the required roles, and also configure the roles with the Fiori Launchpad and the groups. We also discussed about granting, creating custom SAP Fiori catalog and the groups from SAP Fiori Launchpad Designer. In today's session, we will discuss lots of topics about gateway. We will also try to look at how will you check if there is an application given to you out of the box, and if there is an issue in that application, how to debug from the front end side. We will also talk about other different important aspects of SAP Fiori Launchpad related to custom branding and customization for SAP Fiori Launchpad. So let's begin our session. Today's session will be more targeted towards lots of topics, small topics which makes a big difference for you as a developer or as an administrator. So first of all, let's quickly connect to our SAP Fiori Launchpad Designer to create a tile from the scratch which is pointing to an external URL. This was a task or exercise given to you in the last session. So I will quickly go back and try to connect to SAP Fiori Launchpad Designer and show you how to create a tile, custom tile, which can point directly to any URL on internet. So I will just connect it as SAP Fiori server user in SAP Fiori Launchpad, and here I'm going to create a new tile. So let me create a new tile. Click on the catalog which we have already assigned to the user. So we have created a catalog for Walmart. So let me just search this one. Over here you can see this is the catalog which we have created. Now I want to create a fresh tile on the screen. So I click on this plus button over here. And you can see here the type of all the tiles which are available. So there are three types of tiles you can create in SAP Fiori Launchpad. One is dynamic tile, second is news tile, and third is static launcher tile. So what is a dynamic tile? A dynamic tile is capable of displaying a dynamic number at the tile screen. So you will be able to see a number. For example, if you want to create a tile for leave approval app and you want to inform the user how many leave request items are open on the user's name, you can easily do it by creating a dynamic tile. I will show you that upcoming now in some time how to create a dynamic tile for an existing application. Then comes the news tile. This is typically used for feed. If you all remember our first course related to SAP Fiori, we have created something called a feed tile on the UI5 application, where you will keep on getting the feeds, keep on getting the information continuously. So that's what nothing but is a news tile. Third one is static tile, which doesn't show any number on the tile. It is purely used for launching the application. Now there are two ways you can launch an application, either by a semantic object-based navigation, which we have already discussed, or you can have a direct URL based navigation. So for example, if you have just a URL of your company portal or company website or some kind of wiki page or a SAP Jam page, what you can probably do is you can connect it with directly with the URL. So let me create a static tile for the time being, because our example here is to connect to any system or any browser application which is available in the internet. So you can see I click on plus button and a static tile has been added to my launchpad. Click on plus, select this tile, It will navigate you inside now, and here you can give the description for the tile. So let me give the title for this. So I would say about us. I want to create a tile for the company. Just say about us, and then say the most innovative company of Silicon Valley. Yeah, just a description. I can quickly give an icon here, whichever icon I want to choose from. So let me just select an icon, click on OK. And now what you can do is you can see the navigation type. So one way to do the navigation is semantic object based navigation. So if you want to target to an application which is already created in SAP backend system, or sorry, SAP frontend system, a Fiori application, you can use this option with the semantic based application. Okay, semantic based object navigation. Or if you want to directly go by the URL, you can uncheck this and directly pump in the URL over here. So let me first show you launching an existing purchase PO track request. Okay, purchase order track application. So I'm right now creating this tile by pointing to an existing application which is already there in the system. So as you already know, we can go back and check in our front-end system all the available standard tags, like all the available semantic objects. So I can come here, UI to semantic object, and now I can find all the semantic objects available for, yeah, semantic objects available for purchase order. So let me just come down. Okay, wait a second, Deep is saying something. Okay, nothing. Okay, so what I want really to launch is a SAP Fiori application, which is standard available in the system, which is related to purchase order track. So track purchase order application. So let me just search for purchase, standard SAP semantic object, and you can see here there are a lot of semantic objects which are already available. So one of this is purchase order. So I want an application related to purchase order, and that to the track purchase order. Okay, so you can see here the semantic object is already present. Now, one of the best way to know the semantic object and the navigation intent for that semantic object is to also go to Fiori app repository. So we all know about Fiori app repository here. So if I want to load the track purchase order application, so I can just get into this and search for track purchase order. Just let me search. Here it is, you can see, and in this you will find the details about the intent. So let me just come down and just expand here. You can just come down to configuration, and you can see here the target mapping semantic object is purchase order and semantic action is track. So if I give this as my semantic object and this as my semantic action, the application is gonna launch automatically. If you also look at the LPD customizing, LPD cust transaction details, you can see the role here, the instance, and also the UI5 application name as well. So these things are already given on Fiori app repository, Fiori app library, for you to configure any app. So by any chance, if you have deleted a tile which was already there, or you're unable to find the right tile, or you want to just create a fresh tile completely for an application, you can actually do it by looking at the information in Fiori apps repository. Yeah. So we go back and now try to use this purchase order as the semantic object. So I come back to my system, and here we can just provide semantic object name, which is purchase order. It's always better to search here, guys, so that you don't do any mistake related to case sensitivity. So purchase order, here it is, you can see purchase P is capital, order O is capital. Be very careful, it's case sensitive, so always try to select it from F4. Action name, let's go back to the action name, it's track. So let me enter the action name manually, track. Now if at all there is a parameter which I would like to pass, I can give it over here. Otherwise, nothing else is needed. So I click on save button right now and say okay. and you can see the target URL is automatically mapped here, hash purchase order hyphen track. That's it. Now, as we all know about this particular catalog, it's already assigned to our user. So what I can do is right click and open this into incognito mode and quickly open up the launchpad, and we have already assigned this catalog to my user Anubhav. So I just go back to this user Anubhav and just see if the tile is available on the launchpad out of the box. Now, as you can see here, the tile which I've just recently created is not available, right? So can anybody tell me what is that which I really need to do to make that tile available for the user, or probably what the end user has to do if there is a tile newly added into the catalog and it's not visible to the user? What is that user need to do? Anybody? Last session. Nobody looked at last session? What is that you need to do in order to make the tile available on the launchpad for the user if at all you've added a new tile to the catalog? Role is already assigned, guys. Role is already assigned. We just added the tile. So user is just that user not able to see this. User need to go here on this option and choose the group in which the tile is added. So now let's see, have we added it to the group or not? Let me just go to tile catalog and I will select the catalog in which we added the tile. So let me quickly check the catalog in which we added the tile. It's Z employee Walmart. It's an employee catalog. So I will come down, or maybe I can just choose employee catalog for Walmart over here. You can see employee Walmart and you see all the tiles, and the one which we just added. You don't have to add the role again. You don't have to add the catalog or the group again. You just created the tile fresh into the catalog. Catalog is already assigned to the user. Hence, these tiles are already available. It's just that user can't see this because user has not selected them yet. Now what user need to do is just say plus. Where exactly you want to add them on the main screen? They want to add it probably into Walmart valuable employee and say okay. And now if you just come back, you can see it's available over here. It's a static tile without any number. You can see these are all the tiles which are dynamic tiles where there's some number available. Probably it's not working because of some service failure. That's why the number is not coming, but yes, we can see it here. Now I click on this and watch carefully on the top. In the URL over here, you can see hash purchase order. It purchase order hyphen track. It has actually changed the intent. It has changed the hashtag, which is responsible for the navigation. This is very important. So from the launchpad, the navigation is being taken care by semantic object and action. We already discussed about what is a semantic object and what is an action. So all the navigation is being done by something called a U shell service, and this U shell service is responsible for doing navigation through intent. This whole part is intent, which is made up of semantic object hyphen action. So that's basically your whole part is. So we already discussed about it in the previous chapter. What is exactly intent based navigation and where do we see all the available semantic objects, right? So I'll just quickly go through the PPT one more time quickly just to reference you once again back to the place where we talked about it. So let me just go back. It's quite slow. So hold on for a second. Looks like my system is slow. So what happens is now it will try to navigate to that intent. What it does, it goes to LPD cust transaction, try to find out that hashtag. It finds the entry, and according to that, it picks up the right BASP application and loads it into my SAP Fiori Launchpad. That's what exactly it does. So really not sure why it's so slow. There's some problem. It's taking some time to load, hence my whole system is pretty slow. So that's how we are going to load, and you can see now I think it's changing now, and you can see now it's loading with that tile the purchase order track information track application. So that's how you can create a tile from scratch. You just need to give the right intent which is available in the system, which is a combination of semantic object hyphen action name. Yeah. Going back, we now need to really change the target mapping. We don't want to load the purchase order track application. Instead, we want to load our company URL or probably a company wiki page or maybe company website also you can load. So how can you configure your tile to load any random URL, launch any random URL? You can also, if you have a Webdin Pro application, you have the URL for that. You can hard code the URL in the tile mapping, and then it'll probably launch that as well. So let me quickly go back to SAP Fiori Launchpad Designer, and that's where we have created the tile as well. We created the mapping. So I'm going to change that mapping now. So let me quickly go back to our designer. You can see here is our tile about us. In this we have made the changes. So I'll just go inside the style one more time, about a style, and in this we are going to go back and change. Okay, we are going to change the navigation. So right now the navigation is happening based on intent, so we will change it to the URL. So it can be any random URL. You can also launch facebook.com from a tile. It doesn't restrict you, it's just going to launch it in a completely new tab. So that's what the purpose of a URL based navigation is. It's going to launch it completely in a new tab. So let's go to the style. Indeed, it's pretty slow, guys. Let me just try to reconnect to the server. It's very slow, very slow. Give me a minute. Let me try to reconnect. Just a second, guys. Looks like there is some problem with some program here. I'm just checking out what is probably consuming the memory for my system processes. Okay, looks like okay. Cool. So let me connect back to the server. So what I'm going to do next is I will change this mapping to a URL based mapping so that you can purely launch your application URL. So imagine if you have a WebDintro application or an HTML GUI application or your company portal you want to launch from SAP Fiori Launchpad. How can you do that? It's pretty simple. You can come back to the tile, uncheck this option called semantic object navigation, and just enter the name, the URL, complete URL. Now, if you want to give a relative path to your application, you can always give that. But if at all you want to launch completely a different URL like a portal or facebook.com, you can give the complete URL. So you can say http:// let's say facebook.com. So this is how you can also put your company website address over here. Click on save button. The configuration will be saved, and now the navigation will take care for navigating to facebook.com. So let's come back to our user Anubhav and refresh over here. And now we will try to click on about us and see what happens. So if I come down, you can see the tile is available. Click on about us and you can see it launched a completely different page and trying to open facebook.com over here. Unfortunately, Facebook cannot be opened in this server because there is an issue with internet connection. So but you can see facebook.com and it is capable of launching SAP facebook.com. Yeah, so that's what exactly happening. So that's how we can integrate any external website with the tile. So you also saw both the techniques, creating a static tile and launching SAP Fiori application from there using semantic object, or creating a static tile to launch any external web address. Now we'll see how to create a dynamic tile. So let's come back to our Fiori Launchpad designer. We're going to add a new dynamic tile this time. So let me add a dynamic tile. You can see the dynamic tile got added. I get in inside this. And now here in the dynamic tile, you're going to have again the same properties like title. So let's say this is my purchase order approval app. And now say PO approval application. And I can quickly give an icon as well. But this time what happens is any dynamic tile is capable or designed to display a number. And this number has to come dynamically. Now, which is the part in SAP Fiori which gives you the access for backend data? Can anybody tell me how do you get access of backend data from your Fiori application? What is that agent or what is that you use to get an access to Fiori data? It's OData, very simple. So you're going to consume an OData service which you're going to call and get the information about the count. But you may not be knowing the right OData service name. So I will also show in the subsequent discussions how to find out the right OData service name for a particular application, how to debug, all these things we will look into it. But for example, right now I just want an OData service which gives me the count for something. And that count has to be displayed on the screen in the tile title. So what you can do is you can come back to your front-end system and let me just pick up any random service at this point of time just to show you the capability. So I go back to /iwfnd/mint underscore service to show you any service which is available and active. And maybe I choose something related to EPM. So it's a very renowned service for EPM. It's mainly used for displaying some product and item status. So let me just see if it is already registered, the EPM service. It's called EPM demo model. So EPM star, and I just apply this filter and you can see there are a lot of EPM services. So what I'm exactly looking for is maybe something this one. So you can see gateway sales history service. Let me just try to open this service in the gateway client and see what does it responds. So I go back here and just try to access this service. So let's look at the metadata of this service. It's failing, there's a problem. So maybe I just cancel this and search for another one. Okay, maybe this one. Let's try this one. So I just say gateway client and try to access the data for this service. This also giving red, no alias found for this service for user Fiori server. Okay, maybe this one. Let's try. Gateway client and try to access some data. So basically I need just one service which can give me some data. None of these are working, so maybe I'll go with another services. So I just remove this and choose this one which we I think use for purchase order. So it's not already there. So let me just add this service here. If it is there, we will get to know. Get service, it's not there. Maybe I try different one. Leave approval, is this service there? I think it's already registered, so maybe I'll just go back, remove the filter so that we can see all the services and pick it up anything random. So maybe I'll just take this one, PO approval app service, SAP purchase order approval app service. Let me pick it up this one and just try to open gateway client and look at what response it gives me. Yeah, finally you can see we found one, luckily, which is giving me some response. So what I now want is in this service there are a lot of entity sets. For example, purchase order, user collection, supplier collection data. So I want to take one of the entity set and see how many records that particular entity set is returning me. Okay, that's what I want. So let me just pick it up one of the service. So one of
Sir,
the
I have a
entities.
question.
Yes.
Okay, if you can go back to previous screen, there
Mhm.
is a, what is it not supported? It says soft, yeah, here. Soft soft state status. What
Okay.
does it mean?
Okay, what is soft status? So you can see currently not supported. This status reflects the interface this has not been implemented by data provider class. So what happens is whenever you implement SAP Fiori, whenever you implement or create a new OData project, there is a default interface which is this one, which is not yet implemented. So what you have done in the previous course is we created a DPC extension class, and that DPC extension class has to inherit this interface, and if that class is not implementing this particular interface which brings in some methods which is mainly used for soft token based services. Now what is soft tokens? Imagine you are creating a Fiori application which is purely for mobile users. Now what is a soft token? This is an advanced security feature wherein you can handle the tokens from the gateway system. Now what is a token? Token is just a kind of a ticket which gives you secure access to your business data. So to enable such a token service, you actually need this interface to be manually implemented in your DPC class. Now I'll give you one practical example. Imagine you are traveling and you are having a device, you're carrying your mobile device which has been given by your company to you, and you are working in company sales department and you have access to very crucial data in the company. Now you open one application, let's say lead application, and then you just scroll down to multiple leads which are currently open, or let's say companies quotations given to their customers. This is very sensitive data, and by any chance you leave your device unattended at airport, and if this device has been found by your competitor, there is a strong chances that they will steal your data. So what happens is if the device is remain unattended for let's say 5 minutes, the token gets invalid automatically. And after that, if you try to even scroll down or do any action on the application, it will immediately pops you up for a fresh credentials or any authentication mechanism, whatever your company has. So that way what happens is your data is secure. So that is all managed by soft tokens. And this is again, you can manually control by implementing this particular interface. So right now it's not implemented. You can see there's an SAP note for enabling the soft token, soft state token in the backend system and its behavior. This note you can reference. So, but right now we are not getting into such an advanced security features over here. Hence we have not implemented. That's the reason it says not supported. Yeah. So now we will select this and click on gateway client and quickly look at the service data one more time. So all the entity sets which are already available over here, and maybe I'll just pick it up this one, header detail collection. So I just come here and say header. This is the entity set, header detail collection. That's my entity set. Press enter. There's no data into this. So maybe we just go back and look at all our entity sets one more time. So workflow task collection, I think it's an approval app, and approval apps are not configured in the server properly, hence you'll not get any data. So let me just search something which probably give me some data. Request approval service, leave request application, page builder, benefits, timesheet, my spent. Let me try this one. So the idea is we just want to get a service which gives me some records. That's the only idea for this. So I'll again try header detail collection. I think again this is an approval app, guys. I'm not sure, it's not gonna work. So maybe just come down. There are some more services. So maybe you will use this one. This is cool. So I go here, execute it in the gateway client, and I'm sure I'm gonna get some data with this service out. So now if I come here, you can see EPM product set. EPM product set is what is an entity here. So I'll just search for EPM product set. and we will get, I think, some records now. So it's taking some time. We're going to get some records. So can anybody tell me in OData, which is the dollar symbol you will use to get the number of records available in an entity set? What is the symbol? In the first course, we already talked about it. What is the dollar symbol which helps you to get the number of records for an entity set? Anybody? Dollar count. Perfect. So we will now select this entity set and just say slash dollar count. It's just going to give you the count of records. And you can see it's 115. Now if I add more products to my database table, it's going to increase, or if I delete something, it's going to reduce down. So this is the dynamic number which we would like to display on our tile. So what I can actually do is copy this whole path. You can always test it in the gateway client and put it in your service URL over here. Yeah. And now you can also mention how much, after how much seconds it should automatically refresh. So you can say after every 1 minute, I would like this count to be refreshed on my tile. So this setting you can give here. This has to be the URL for dollar count of your entity set. And now again, you can have any navigation to any semantic based object. So let me just put any URL here, gmail.com, just for time being. Click on save. A dynamic tile will be created now, which is going to get the number automatically from the OData service for EPM product set. Okay, so I clicked on save button. Everything got saved. Let's come back for the user Anubhav and try to add this app now. So you just come back, go here, open, go for tile catalogs and search for the newly added dynamic tile. Scroll down till the bottom. You can see the dynamic app launcher tile, PO approval application, and showing dot 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 right now. Click on plus button and add it to the group. Okay. Now, if you would have added this tile in the group automate in the SAP Fiori Launchpad Designer, user wouldn't have to go and add it manually. So if you would have added this tile from the catalog to the group already, user would have seen it directly in the Launchpad. But since we didn't do it, it's not. And you can see now the count has got updated to 115. That's the exact count what we were actually getting in the gateway client for the products. So that's how a dynamic tile can be created. So now imagine you are working with a Fiori application, let's say leave approval app or purchase order approval app. So how are you going to know which are all the OData services it is calling? Now one very important and golden rule, guys, for Fiori is whenever SAP design any Fiori app and deliver it to you, so they will have one OData service created per Fiori app. It will never happen that they have connected to multiple OData service from one app. They don't do it. That's a standard. So any Fiori application which you have, it is always going to talk to one OData service. So you will never ever see that one Fiori app is talking to multiple OData service. It won't happen. Now, one thing which may happen is, let's imagine you have a Fiori app 1, and now here you'll probably have some button which then navigates you to Fiori app 2. That's possible. We'll see this this cross app navigation also, how to achieve this. When we'll build our custom application, I will show you how to achieve the cross app navigation using ushell service. So now when you have it app 1, it can navigate to app 2. But remember, then if you jumping from one app to another app, now this app 2 probably can have its own service. Okay. So in that case, you may see sometimes when you do the network tab, you may see there's a call going to a different service. So it has service too. But app 1 it will never happen that a single Fiori app would talk to multiple OData service. It will never happen. That's the standard what SAP follows. So remember, per app, you always try to find one service per app. It won't happen that you have multiple services being called by different apps. But it may possible that it may confuse you if you are navigating from one app internally to another app, because so seamless integration what SAP gives, they can even navigate from one app to another app and you would never know. You would not be able to realize that. But one way is to realize is if there is a call going to a different service, probably you navigated to already a different app. Okay, so this is one golden rule which we all should remember, that whenever there is a Fiori app, it will always talk to one OData service. Now, how can we check that which OData service it is talking to? There are two techniques. Okay, there are two techniques. So now there is one more question here from Rupa. What if there is a OData which needs data from different backend system? Is this a real time possible? Yes, it's possible. So as we've discussed already, that it's possible to have a Fiori front-end system and it is connected to multiple backend systems. So it may be also possible, for all your information guys, it may be also possible that you have one OData service getting the data from multiple systems at the same time. It is joining all the data. So this OData service, what you see, which is given to a Fiori application. So your Fiori application is running in the browser here, and you can see in the gateway hub scenario, you never talk to backend system directly, right? You always go by front-end system. So from here, you're calling only one OData service. This is all possible, right? So you will not be calling multiple OData service, that is for sure. But when you're calling this service may be connecting to multiple backend systems and combining this data, what it is obtaining from multiple systems, and then returning you a combined union result. That is also possible. This scenario is known as parallelization in OData. Okay, it's called as parallelization concept in SAP NetWeaver OData. So that concept is also available, where it actually, now here from the Fiori side, if you look at, you're not talking to multiple backend system, you're talking to OData service. But this OData service is a specially designed service which connects to the multiple backend systems at the same time and brings it all the data, pull it into a buffer, and once the data from all the backend has come in, it joins all the data and returns you the final result. This scenario is possible and it's known as parallelization. Okay, I have not worked on parallelization till date. I have not even seen that, but this concept exists. Okay, but I never used it, guys, and I'm not sure whether I'll be able to demonstrate because I don't have this infrastructure also with me. What today I have as an infrastructure is one backend and one front-end system, which is AHE and EP7. That's what I have it today. Hence, I will not be able to show this demonstration. But in interview perspective, you should remember it's possible, and it's called parallelization. And I think you should be able to find some information here as well. Let me just go to uh, SPRO and show you the information where you can actually set all this configuration for parallelization. So just out of curiosity, this question came and I get into it, but unfortunately I never worked on it, guys, and I also cannot demonstrate it to you because my system is not equipped to do that. Now if I just come here, there was a setting for doing all the parallelization, guys. So let me just quickly check. Yes, define parallelization for multiple origin composition. You can see this is the option which is available. Some customizing is already available for that, but I never use this option. Believe me, minimum number of backend systems, maximum number of backend systems is just one setting which they give here, but I've never used it. Okay, so I'm not sure, but this is called parallelization concept in gateway. Now you may find some information SDN about the same, but typically this scenario is not really valid in extreme cases. This may be something in extreme case, a completely unique case in your company, and I don't think so it will ever happen because company would not have separate ECC boxes. Okay, and why would they do it? I mean, why would they spend on multiple licenses of same software? They won't have it. They will typically have one ECC box and then probably a CRM box and a PLM box. So they are completely different applications connecting to different backend. You will not also find this scenario so easily in some companies. Now moving on, how can you check which OData service your Fiori app is talking to? It's pretty simple. There are multiple techniques for that. So technique number one, which is very straightforward and very simple for you all to understand and which we already know. Anybody, any guess? Which is the technique you want to know, if at all, which OData service your Fiori app is talking to? Apps library, very good answer. So point one, apps library. So now if in interview somebody asks you what are all the different techniques you can find an OData service your app is talking to, you can actually list down these things. So point one is Fiori apps library. Now imagine you don't find an entry for your app. Unfortunately, sometimes it may happen that it's a custom app which is not a standard Fiori app and you don't find any information for that. Or maybe they standard Fiori app but they changed it and that they changed the complete backend implementation using the same front-end implementation of the Fiori app, but the backend is changed. So in this case, the best way is check the network call. And as a developer, this is what I prefer to do all the time. Whenever I have a Fiori app, I want to see really which OData service it's talking to. I better see it in the system directly. So what I do is I go back to the application and press F12 over here. And then what we can actually do is you can see the network section over here, and it's, you can see there's after every 10-20 seconds there's a call going dollar count, which is trying to get on this launchpad the count for all these tiles. That's why you see after every 10 seconds there's a call going to get this count. You remember just now we also set one dynamic tile wherein after every 10 seconds we are saying load the product count, and that's what it's doing. So now if you really want to see which OData service this particular app is going to call, you can just quickly go to that and open up your app. So let me try with this track purchase order. So I'll right now clear this and just click on track purchase order, and you can see now all the calls which are going to backend to load the data, as you can see. So in this you if you're you need to be a little smart because there are many calls going to the backend loading the views, controllers, IATN and properties files, multiple things, but at the same time you can easily guess one of the call which is going to load your purchase order data. So you can say PO list entity set, it's calling with top skip 0 and top 100 records, and it's already sorting the records which are going to be read out. Now if you really want to test this OData call, you can just double click here. It's a nice feature in the Chrome browser. It directly does this call from the browser and shows you the data over here. This is the best way to know which backend system it is connecting to, what data it's loading, and best way to analyze your OData service. Yeah, so this is one of the very important technique what I personally use whenever I have any service. Now even it's calling a HANA access service or any other OData service on the internet, that also will come up here. Okay, so this should be your preferred technique as point 2. Now Charu has a question. Any app you can demo which gives data while testing in NetWeaver gateway client, changing entity set, PO detail maybe for PO approval app? Yes, I will come to it. So what we will do, we will create an end-to-end scenario using SAP Web IDE. So I will be showing a custom Fiori app, creating a custom Fiori app, and in probably in the next class I will also show you extending a standard Fiori app. And in that extension we will see the UI extension, how to enhance standard Fiori apps. We will also see service extension, how to extend your services. Standard OData service what SAP deliver, how can you extend that? So both we will see, so that will be more clear for you to understand these things. Yeah, so we'll see that. Now this is option number 2, which is also the preferred option, guys, to check your OData calls. So you can see there's one more which is calling to load the purchase order details, because the moment it comes to this application, it's by default selecting the first item in the list in the master section, hence it's loading the details on the details section. So this is also one more call it is making every time it's coming to the screen, it's loading the first item details on the right. So if I just remove this now and I want to see for a particular action what call has been made, now I can clear the console. Just maybe I select another item now, so I click and you see this is the call which is going to the backend system for this particular action. So then you all know where to set up a breakpoint. So got to set up in PO detail data entity set get entity method of this particular entity set. You need to set up a breakpoint in your DPC extension class. And I also showed you in the last session how to find the DPC extension class, get into there, set up a breakpoint. If at all for the different user, you can go to the debugger settings and change it. We also saw how to find out which user it's using to connect to the backend system. So all these things we already discussed. So this is point number 2, how you can check it. Point number 3, there is a very nice feature what SAP gateway system gives you. It's called gateway traces. Any call which you make, which goes through this SAP Fiori gateway system or the Fiori front end system, this picture you need to always keep in your mind. Anything which is going to the backend is going through this Fiori front-end system, or it's also your gateway system. Okay, anything which is hitting your backend, your data, your business logic, it's through this gateway. So everything is tracked, traced, uh, is being done in this gateway system. So there is a transaction where you can really go and check all the calls coming from a Fiori application for a particular user as well, and for a particular project as well. This is possible, and gateway system tracks all this information. Pretty simple. So let me quickly show you. I go back to our gateway system AHE, and the transaction code is, let me just come to the main menu, and it's /IWFND/traces. This is very powerful transaction to actually, if you are a backend developer. So in companies, it'll rarely happen that one person have knowledge for both Fiori and both backend. Okay, it will really happen, very rare. And if the person having both backend and front end knowledge, he is going to be a champion in this world, because you know backend as well, and you know Fiori as well. But typically the projects which I've seen, either there's one guy who is only the UI developer, the Fiori related guy, and another guy is only the backend developer. Now, as you have gone through my first training, you have gone extremely high on Fiori side, but this course is maybe really making you guys to get aware of backend more, and also understand the configuration part. So this is one transaction which you can use as a backend developer to see what are all the calls coming from your Fiori. Even you can debug your Fiori app. You can see actually what are all the different calls coming from the front end to the back end. So now you can see here it's there for Fiori user. I can actually add more users. So let me add a user, and now I can just say any call which is coming for Anubhav user, I would like to track. Okay, what this guy is really doing. I want to track that, and I can also specify any call coming to a particular service is what I can also check. Okay, so either per user level I can set up a trace, or I can set up per service level as well if I know the service. But our intention is to know the service when a user is particularly calling an app. So that's why I choose user Anubhav and say okay. I can see it has come here, and now I can specify the setting for this guy. So I want to say if user Anubhav makes any call to OData, so which is nothing but payload trace, I make it active, and I just say save configuration. So now what happens is any call which comes from user Anubhav to the backend system through the front-end system is all will be tracked. So now I can go to tools, traces, payload traces, and now I can choose user here Anubhav and just say okay. So the trace setting has to be on for the user first of all, and once that is done, you're gonna get the results over here. But right now you see there's nothing because user Anubhav didn't do any action yet. So let me go back here. This is Anubhav here, and now I probably go to home screen and quickly click on this track purchase order one more time. So that's it. Two actions I did. I went back, and then I came back into the application one more time, which is supposed to load all the purchase order and also the details of this particular single purchase order. So let's go back and check now what happens. So we come back to traces and say refresh, and voila, you see all the method calls which are coming from user Anubhav are being captured over here with all the service details as well. And if you really see, indeed you have all the calls. Even there is a post call coming from the user. You can really analyze that call. This is a great way, a great piece of transaction which really helps you to know for every Fiori app what are all the actions, what type of request has been made. You can also get inside this and check the payload, what data user really posted, purely for a developer's perspective, guys. So you can see here it's calling this purchase order to read the data. You can really see the payload and the dollar symbol which all the calls. So sometimes it may happen that you're a developer, Fiori app developer, but in the backend guy is not able to find what exactly going on. because this backend guy really don't know what's going on. So what you can really do is open the trace and you can see the call which has come to the backend. You can copy this call and directly go to your gateway client and pump over here the same call and just do an execute. You will get the same result what your Fiori app supposed to give. There's an error. What's the problem? Uh, Error is logged in with tag. There's some problem, I'm not sure. So purchase order list skip 0 top 100 order by created ad descending order dollar filter is empty, guys. That's why maybe. So let me just remove. Yeah, it's yeah, you're right, it's $20. So $20 is nothing but a representation of I think ampersand symbol, right? Or space. It's a representation of space, I guess. I'm not sure. Created at space, press enter. I think these special characters is what is causing the problem. Let me just remove all this. Maybe I just remove this descending and press enter. Service cannot be reached. Why? You can see the prefix here is just SAP, but ideally it should have been, you know, the complete prefix what you would typically get for any service. So let me just use it for a service. What is the prefix? So the prefix remains absolutely same. So for any service like this one, you would have definitely some prefix slash SAP OPU OData, and after this, here is where your actual part starts. Yeah. So here is your actual part starts after SAP OPU OData. This is fixed. Okay, and here from here after your actual part is starting. So let me go back to the trace, copy this and put it back over here and remove these special characters, which is especially this percentage 20, which is causing the problem. I just remove this and press enter, and again there's this ampersand at the end. Press enter, and voila, you can see there is a call invalid dollar filter. So let me just remove this because it was a blank, I think that's why, and I press enter, and you can see you're getting some empty records. So that's exactly what would have been the result for from the Fiori app when it would have been called. So that's how you can actually test any call which is coming from front end to the back end. You can actually check if it's a post call. You can see, you all know the method get, post, put, update, delete and merge. So these calls you can really see, and which call is green and red, that also you can trace. So you can see there is one timesheet approval app summary call which has been made, which has gone red because of some reason, and that reason you can of course find it in the gateway error log transaction, but you can also click on display to see the details of this call. So this is all possible. A very helpful and you know, handy tool to check any calls coming from Fiori app to the backend. Really helpful even for a user. Yeah, even for a particular user you can make the trace on. So that's about the trace tool. So let me right now not overload my server with this much traces, because it will definitely overload my server. So I just remove this, and yeah, cool. So that's another transaction to actually really check the transactions. Now one more very important thing, guys, if you are making a call to an auditor service and you really want to see what went wrong, so there's a nice feature which is also available from the service side. You just have to use a parameter in SAP related auditor service called question mark. So right now here it should be n% SAP-DS-debug equals to true. This parameter you should add at the end of SAP auditor services and press enter. You're gonna see the screen will change a little bit, and it will run the service into the debug mode. So uh, is it really working? SAP-DS-debug equals to true is what I have to cap. Is it a question mark I need to put? Not really. So it's not really behaving here. So let me just try the another one. The other one which we have used. So here we have gateway client, and this is one service. So here I would like to call the purchase order EPM product, and then we put a question mark SAP-DS-debug equals to X. Sorry, it should not be true, it should be X. Press enter, and what you will see, guys, is an additional option for debugging. So let me just try this in the browser. So I come back to the browser. So because you typically try this with the browser only. So now here we are going to put this call from the browser, press enter. Okay, I'm not sure. I think the parameter which I put is incorrect. It's not the right parameter. SAP DS debug. Is it true? Let me check. No, there's a problem. So what exactly I was trying to tell is there is a parameter. I will get back to you for this again. I completely forgot the parameter name. So when you do this, it also shows you the stack call. So for example, if you're a backend developer, your UI is not yet ready and you really want to give a service to your end users to consume. Before that, you can, if they inform you with some issues, you can use this additional parameter at the end of your service and run the service in the browser. You will get a trace, complete stack trace of the calls, that which are all the methods your service hit and what are all the data it has, which are all the classes it has hit. All that complete information you are going to get directly in the browser. So you don't really need to go to the backend system. It's is it SAP UI debug true? Let me try this. SAP UI, I don't think so. SAP UI debug equals to true. Not that one, guys. Not really sure. So there, no, you're not getting it here. SAP DS debug equals to true. Okay, I think that's the right one. So press enter. So watch here this layout of, no, it's not working. I think it's X. So SAP-DS-debug. No, it's not really working out. So there is indeed a parameter. I will get back to you for that. So that parameter, when you use, you're gonna get a complete information about your service call, which are all the methods it has hit, which are all the classes it touched, all that information directly in the browser you're going to get. Now let me quickly show you. You can actually do it right from here as well. So if I just come to my gateway client, you can see there has to be an option to do so. So let me just quickly check. Um, there is indeed a way to do add URI option. Let me try this one. And yes, SAP DS -debug equals to, this is the parameter you can see, guys. SAP DS -debug equals to true. Let me put this. You can see it has put %, SAP DS debug equals to true, and execute this. And I think I just need to remove this one, which was earlier available. Put it question mark and just try one more time. Yes, you can see now the complete layout is changed. So this is the one which I was talking about. Let me just copy this and show you in the browser now. So if I just come here and just, I think we did some mistake, some typo, maybe SAP DS debug equals to true. And now you will see the output format will change. It's going to give you a lot more information about your service. It's not really giving it in the browser now. Some problem. No, it's not really giving in the browser, but yes, you would get more and more information. I think let's put %. I think that's what it expects, not the dollar symbol. No, it's not working. So, but we'll quickly see the gateway client. So you can see there's lot more information what you are able to see here rather than just the response. So you can see what was the request, what was the request ID, what was the token, the passport which was used to connect to the server, and then which service, what type of operation it was, a get, post, put, delete, what was the response which has come, what was the format of the response, and then on the server side, which are all the server data it has pumped in, what was the IP address from there the call went in, all this information, and then the URI in the JSON format, and then the runtime. So you can see now here, this is very important information for the backend developer to really see which are all the classes it is actually hit to get the information. So if there is a dump, you will get to know here itself what was the last call in which the dump have come in. Because of that, it got interrupted. So this information you'll get to know immediately what was the last method or last class which it was working into really to get the information and it dumped. So this information is very helpful, especially even sometimes you're working with Fiori. There's a problem in your OData service. This is the trace which you really need to give it to your backend developer, the OData developer, who can really go back, and then it's easy for the counterpart backend developer to look into the issue if you give such an information to the developer, right? So not just for the backend but on the front end side as well, it's really helpful if you are working on Fiori and giving this information to the backend user. Now moving on to the next subsequent parts, how do you customize the SAP Fiori Launchpad? So right now, if you see, we have this SAP Fiori Launchpad, pretty nice tool, pretty nice handy stuff for the end user. But what about custom branding? So your company is now using SAP Fiori, and they have also asked you to configure. You configured it properly. Everything is working fine. Apps are also loading up and working fine. But what about the company look and feel? So every company have their own themes, their own look and feel, their brand. So now if you see really here you have an SAP logo, and at the same time if you really go back to the main screen, you would find probably a company this particular screen, which is a standard Fiori look and feel. You can see standard Fiori look and feel. So how can you change this particular login screen? How can you change this login screen? How can you put your company picture as a login screen? How can you remove this copyright at the rate of SAG, all right, reserved, and then probably change this logo at the bottom? How can you do all this stuff for your company? Basically, it's called custom branding. So how can you achieve this? Now, to achieve this, there are a couple of important things. But before that, let me show you typically when you really start for the first time the Fiori Launchpad in a fresh system, you don't get such a nice Fiori screen, which is we are getting today right now. This flower screen, which is standard Fiori Fiori flower screen. You don't get it actually. I'll show you what kind of screen do you get when you really start your first Fiori Launchpad. And if you all remember, we have got it actually in the past, but somebody is practicing in this server and then they really changed it. So let me quickly go back and change it back to the normal. What kind of screen you usually get? So the service name is usual service, and in this usual service, if you really go over here in UI5 UI2 usual service, this is the service which takes care of your SAP Fiori Launchpad. And now if I double click over here and go to error pages, configuration, and let me just go for the change mode right now and just go to configuration. So I first go for change mode for this service, and then I will go to the option configuration, and there what happens is what will be the default configuration when you have a new system. That is what I'm going to reset it to, and then we will see what impact it has on the login screen. And that's what exactly you all maybe already who started working on Launchpad may be getting. So that kind of screen you're going to get by default when you're working in a company and when your system is fresh and it's completely new, but your company don't want that type of login screen. So basically you get something called NWBC login screen, NetWeaver Business Client login screen. That's a default screen which comes for SAP Fiori Launchpad. So in this system, how can you change it to Fiori screen first? And then from Fiori screen, how can you change it to your custom image, whatever you like? It's all possible with the Launchpad configuration. So that's what we're going to see now. So looks like it's stuck. Let me try in another session. So go to SICF, enter the service name is usual, click on execute, go inside, go for change mode. Yes, it's in the change mode now. Go to configuration and just define service settings, SAP implementation, and click on OK. Uh, this one, and I would just say save. Oops. Use global settings. Sorry. normal. So that is the default setting, guys, which remains in the system. So what I did now is I reset what it will be default. So now if you come and look at the login screen with that default setting, what kind of screen you're gonna get? This is the screen what typically you get for SAP Fiori Launchpad in your company. If the system is new, okay, it doesn't give a feel of Fiori at all. Now your company manager comes and say, oh, I don't feel like it's Fiori. It looks like NetWeaver Enterprise Portal. So can you do something for me to make it look like Fiori? So what you really need to do, you need to come to the system, and in the front end system, I'm telling all this you need to do, and check the service in SICF called usual service. Come to error pages tab, and here go for change mode and click on configuration. And what you need to do is choose this define service specific settings, and come here instead of SAP implementation, NetWeaver Classic, choose custom implementation. And now here you got to give a special class name called UI2 slash UI2 slash CLSRA login. This is what you need to put here, what exactly it is. Now it's actually a class which is talking to your MIME repository, picking up an image from the MIME repository and putting that image as part of login screen. That's what exactly it does. It also applies a custom CSS. There is a CSS file in MIME repository. That is what also it picks up and applies that CSS on login screen. So basically how it builds the login screen, your field remains same, your username, password and logon button. All three things remains as it is. But what it does is it just changes the look and feel for that. And for that look and feel, it picks up an image from a predefined location, and also it picks up a CSS file from a predefined location and brings you that on the main screen. So that's what exactly this piece of class is doing. So now you have changed the implementation. You told don't go with the default one, instead go and hit this class, and what this class picks it up, that should be my implementation for login screen. Click on OK. So by default it goes and SAP has the information available for a standard picture for Fiori, and also a CSS file which applies the styling on the front end screen. The moment you change and refresh the page, you will see the login screen got completely changed to SAP Fiori look and feel. Yeah. So it's just that on a screen it applied a CSS and the background image. Two things it did, and completely due transformation of this screen looks much better and looks closer to SAP Fiori. So that's the small, very small change, but really impactful for the end user. Now coming to the next important part, how can you really change this background picture? Yeah, how can you really change this background picture? So your company has, you're working in a team, and this you're just using SAP Fiori Launchpad for your team. You can also take a nice selfie or take a nice picture for your entire team, and you can put your team picture as the background picture for the Launchpad. But don't do it, guys. That's not professional, but still, just for fun, you can actually indeed do it and showcase your expertise to your manager. So what you can really now do is, as I mentioned, the class which we mentioned here is going to pick up a picture from MIME repository, and that picture, it will set it as a background for the Launchpad login screen. Now if we go and change the picture, that particular picture, what it will do is it will pick up that picture and then show that as a login screen. So let me show you how can we do it. So what I already did is I downloaded one picture from internet, a nice flower picture, and then I made some small changes in the MS Paint into it, just putting my website name over here, and you can see this is a pretty nice HD picture for flowers I've downloaded from internet, and made some changes whatever I like. And then I want this picture to become the picture for my Launchpad login screen. Yeah, how can I do that? So I have stored it in my computer. It's on my desktop, and now I just quickly go back to system. It should be a Fiori front-end system, and at the same time, if you also see there's a logo, and I want to change this logo as well. So it's also simple. So I have created a logo for my company, onlinefioretraining.com, and this logo is what I want to set as a default logo for my Launchpad as well. So your company has a logo, you have a custom branding, custom background which you really want, you can actually customize it. It's highly configurable and customizable, which for every user in the system. So now it comes. go to SEAD transaction, your ABAP workbench, and there you need to really get into something called MIME repository. So come here to MIME repository, and then here in this, so what that class is doing, it's picking up a picture from here, and if you just change that picture, it's going to change the complete look and feel for Fiori Launchpad. So now just go to SAP Public BC, and then UI5, UI2, and then you can see logon and IMG. So here you can see all the images which it is using really to make it appear on the screen. So now you can see there's a login background.jpg. If you double click over here, you will see the picture at the bottom. So just, it's not really so big. So I mean, this is just your standard Flower Fiori picture. You can really make it out. So take a backup of this. Don't spoil this. So what we're going to do first is right click and just download it somewhere on my computer. So I say download with the lock, or I can just say download. So just download this, and you can see it's now downloading. I download it on my desktop, and just take a copy of this before really change it. Yeah, and now just make a right click on this and say, you all know, right? It's just a upload and replace. That's the game. So upload and replace, and just pick it up the picture from my computer and say open, and just remember, allow, find, cool. It locks into transport because it's going to reach to all the systems now from here. Say okay, fine, everything is good, keep it up, and just done. So now I'm sure it would have replaced the picture with my picture. So you can see at the bottom some www my website name is coming up, so means it would have definitely changed it. So let's see what happens for users. So the moment user comes here and just do a refresh, looks like it's not working. It has some cache issues. So I press F12, right click over here and say empty cache and hard reload my launchpad. So just do that, and voila, you see the login screen got changed completely to the new image which we have uploaded. It doesn't really feel like SAP Fiori Launchpad. You can really have it like your company portal. Any company specific image which you maybe, I saw one implementation where it was a switchgear company. They have put their factory picture to inspire their workers. So they've taken a HD picture. They call up some good guys from marketing team and took up some SLR pictures for their assembly line, and then they have put that as the picture for Fiori Launchpad. So you can actually do that. Such an inspiring idea. So now you can see completely screen got changed. It doesn't even look like the standard SAP Fiori Launchpad, and at the same time you see the logo. If you really want to change the logo as well, so just come down and you will see this SAP underscore logo. Yeah, right click over here and just say I want to replace this one as well, upload and replace, and I'm going to pick up the logo for onlinefiorytrainings.com and just say push this up. Done. Cool. So let's come back and check it out. Refresh the page. Again, caching is the issue because browser always caches the information. So right click here, empty cache and hard reload, and you can see guys the logo is also changed. Yeah, so you can see at the bottom the logo is also changed. Yeah, the logo is also changed. It has got my logo in this. One question here from B. Dynamic streaming works. I'm really not sure what do you mean by dynamic streaming. It's good if you can unmute your line and explain me what do you mean by dynamic streaming. I really do not.
Sir, this is just not a static picture, something like a dynamic or something. If you go give some moving
Okay.
company
So that
stock.
is, I think that will probably not work. I didn't try it, but maybe if I get an opportunity to write some code tomorrow by SAP, so SAP gives me an exit point where I can write some JavaScript code, I can really make that happen, dynamic streaming. But right now it doesn't work. It doesn't
Just
support dynamic streaming.
yeah, if it's basically stock market company,
Mm-hmm.
New York Stock Exchange, just that feed, live feed.
Okay, but why would you like give a live feed on the launchpad? Even it's just a login screen, because he has not even logged in, and he's able to see the dynamic feed, the stock market price. You are losing the business with that, right?
No, generally, so the general NSE index, the indexes will be there, right?
No, the live
Generally.
streaming doesn't work right now. It's a pretty static image what we have here. So that is not yet supported, but I really like your idea. Possibly one next feature for this launchpad could be, but today it's not possible. It's pretty static image what you put in now. So it's nothing but just a background picture, guys. So that's what we really changed it over here as well. So now one more important catch here is, once your user will use this launchpad in a mobile device, what will happen? Let me show you. So if I just reduce the size of the browser, you will see it will go back to the normal Fiori launchpad screen. So let me just reduce, and you see the picture got changed, and again it become the flower screen. So the reason being very simple. Uh, the reason is very simple, that SAP Fiori has provided multiple images for um, different devices, and you really need to change all those images if you really want to make it work in that way. So that's what they exactly have done. So just incognito mode, so that it would ask me the username password, so I can really show you. So you can see for the desktop devices it comes like this, but if I just squeeze down the width of the browser to make it feel like it's a mobile or a tablet, you can see the image is changed back to the one. So if you really go back to the repository and check in the repository over here, uh, the images, you can see here there's an image for mobile and mobile landscape mode, which is nothing but when you flip your mobile device, it automatically flips the screen and becomes a landscape mode or a tablet device. So if you really want to change it for mobile and tablet also, you got to replace these two images as well. Okay, so it's possible that you really want to change it for all three devices and keep the same image, then you can do it. But it's your choice. If you want your company to offer different image for mobile access for the Fiori and Launchpad, you can actually keep the different images as well. So the flexibility is with you. Mhm. Flexibility is always with you. Then you can also see this logo, which is default logo which it uses. Now coming back to the next part, now some companies, I've also come across the requirement where my students have come to me and say, Anubhav, can we also remove this small text at the bottom? You all can observe this text over here. It's copyright 2017 SAP AG, all rights received. So that's what they don't want, because it's something which gives an impression to the user that it's copyrighted by SAP. But it's my company, my launchpad, my users. Why would I show this particular text? So it's pretty simple. You can actually hide it dynamically. It's possible to hide it dynamically. How? Very simple. You got to change some CSS, but before changing the CSS, guys, you should know what is the ID of this element or what is the class name of this element. So pretty simple. Can anybody guess how to find class name of a element? I recalling you to the first course, initial chapters, where we learnt about HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. Can anybody tell me, if you all remember our first course, how to check out an element class name? Perfect answer. Deep has got it absolutely right. He's my best student. DOM is what you really can check. Right click on the element and say inspect, and then it will take you to the DOM of the element, and you can see here is your class name, which it is highlighting SAP UI SRA login copyright. That's what exactly it is. So it's pretty simple. You can also test it directly in the console. Just come here and use jQuery dollar symbol, dot is the symbol for class name, and then dot css. I want to change it, and I just say um, I want to basically hide it. So maybe display css property to none if I make it, and no, it doesn't work. So what probably can be visible property? Yes, was that helpful? Visible property to none? No. Visible property to hidden? No. doesn't work. So looks like the jQuery, it is not recognizing jQuery commands. So maybe what we will do is we'll change the CSS, guys, the root of it, but we actually got to know how to find out the class name of this element. So you have got the class name, just copy the class name, and now we really need to change the CSS. So as I mentioned, there is a class which we just use to change this implementation, overriding it, which is picking up image, and we saw the location of the image. At the same time, there is a CSS file which is also that class is picking up. So if you go to that SAD once again, you'll just find outside this image directory a CSS file called template css.css. This is the file which SAP is using to apply the styles at the first screen. Okay, styles at the first screen. So you can use this actually, but you can see it's really complex to understand. Yeah, really complex to understand. So what you do is just create a save for this and save it on somewhere on your computer. So just save it on maybe the desktop, and I just say my css.css, click on save, and just come back to desktop. Now what you have got is this CSS file. So you can use any Eclipse based editor or your web IDE, whatever you like, to edit this CSS file. Pretty simple. So if I quickly go back to our web IDE, you remember we have installed web IDE in this system. I have already installed it at some port number. Let me quickly access it in the server. It's already installed here. So this is the link location where the web IDE can be accessed. And I just quickly access SAP Web IDE, and then in SAP Web IDE I'm going to go and change the CSS file. So here we go. So 1, 2, 3, and I just got to load this CSS file in this Web IDE so that I can easily edit it. You can also use Eclipse based editor, and there's something called JSBean. It's a very powerful online tool to edit JavaScript or CSS or HTML. JSBean, you can use that as well. So come here to the code and maybe choose any project, right click, import from file system, choose the CSS file which you have it on your desktop. So just go back here, and the CSS file, my css.css, here we go, click on OK. CSS file have come in, and you can see now you can see the whole CSS in a better format. So just come down till the bottom, extreme bottom, and add your custom stylings over here. So what I really want, I don't want that particular text to be visible to the user. So just put styling based on class name. So put dot. What was the class name? We have just go back and check it once again. Right click, inspect, and get the class name of this copyright element. So this is the class name. Copy this and just put it over here. Put curly braces, and now inside this we got to write our settings. So the setting, anybody, which CSS property do you use to hide an element? Anybody? If you remember our CSS chapter, anybody? CSS chapter, anybody from the first course who remember the CSS chapter? Which property do you use in CSS to hide an element? Anybody? No one? No one remembers the first course? Style, yes, I know it's a style. There is some style property. And style is used for inline styling. It's a display property. Very good. Display equals to none. So if I make display equals to none, on a safer side, what I can also do is visibility property to hidden. See guys, it's very powerful in web ID. You can see it's automatically recognizing that's all CSS. I just click on save button and close my web ID if I don't want, and quickly open this my CSS and check if the code has come in. Scroll down, it didn't come. Oops, some problem. Yeah, what happens is it takes the code and keeps it in its repository. So web ID, whenever you reference a file, it makes a copy of that file into its repository. So let me quickly go to the repository where it has copied the file. I can also export it. So I go back to web IDE once again, right click and export it back to my desktop. So you can see it has downloaded, and I'm just gonna pick it up from here and put it on my desktop. So after changing it, you got to really put it some location and download it. So now if I just open this up and scroll down till the bottom, I should see the code. So you can see this is what we added. So it's difficult to add it in the notepad. That's why I used WebID as an alternate approach to add it. You can also do it in notepad also. There's no problem. If it's a small change, I could have easily done it in a notepad as well. Yeah. But now the main important thing is just replacing it. So go back to the settings, template css.css, right click over here and say upload and replace. And let's choose my CSS over here. Remember, allow, done. That's it guys. Game is on. Come back to the login screen, press F12. We don't really want the cache problems. Right click and say empty cache on hard reload. Watch this copyright symbol guys carefully. So I just say empty cache and hard reload, and that's it. You see the copyright text is gone. So that's how really control hiding or making some elements visible, invisible. Now one quick question to all of you. Let's see who is smart. So can you really hide this www.onlinefiorytrainings.com? Is it possible? Anybody using this CSS changes? Let's see.
No.
Why? Why not?
Because you have hard coded on the paint.
Perfect answer. You're very smart. May I know who's this?
This is Bob.
Yeah, Bob. So what I did is actually this is my image and I have kept it as part of image. So if somebody really want to hide this, the whole image will go away. So I did something very smart, because just the way people hide SAP's text, they can't hide my text, which I had put. I have hard coded it on the image directly. So everything is there in the image. It's not a separate CSS element in the DOM. It's integral part of image. So it's image only actually. So if somebody wants to hide it, the whole image will go. Okay. So that text was completely different DOM element. Hence we could do it by applying a CSS onto it. Yeah. Good. So that's about the branding for the login screen. What about inside branding? So if I just log in as Anubhav123, I get into it and I would still see this old Fiori types screen, which is also kind of difficult for my manager again to appetite. You're very demanding. I mean, really these managers are too high demanding. Sorry, no grudges with any manager if at all you are taking any training here, but yes, they're very demanding. So now they really want to change this as well, the look and feel of inside screen. So that's the URL here you need to really target. This is the guy which we really want to change. Now for this, it's not so straightforward. To change actually this part, we really need a completely different tool, which is known as Theme Designer. So Theme Designer is a tool provided by SAP, which helps you to change look and feel for any SAP Fiori screen, be the launchpad or be any application. Okay, so what you really need to do is make sure that the path, this is the path of the launchpad. Make a copy of it, and if you really want to change the launchpad screen, so just make a copy of this path, and now you go into the system and use Theme Designer to really change this. So Theme Designer is a very powerful tool. It gives you amazing capabilities. Let me show you what are all the things which you can really do with the Theme Designer. I personally love this concept of Theme Designer, and I really saw people doing amazing stuff with it. So what you right now, the theme which is set here for the user is, if you really see the user preference, you can see here the themes which is loaded is blue crystal theme for this user. You can also see the black contrast theme, which is mainly for color blind people, the people who cannot make out a difference between colors. They only understand black or white. So this is the theme, high contrast theme, which is used by the people who are color blind. So that's what SAP accessibility is all about. So we quickly change it back to blue crystal and say okay, and you can see this is the blue crystal theme which is available now. Now I want to change this blue crystal, and I don't want to really keep it like SAP. I want according to my company. So how can I really do this? I want to also change this logo over here. maybe the background color, I want to change the tile color, tile text color, maybe the button color, the control colors. I don't really like what is there. So how can you really do this? To do this, you need to launch a tool called Theme Designer. Pretty simple to launch this tool directly from your login. You can launch it. The transaction code for Theme Designer is /UI5/Theme Designer. This is the T code for Theme Designer. Now you may ask me, Anubhav, don't we have a T code for Launchpad? The answer is no. We do not have a standard transaction code for Launchpad. Now that will be our next assignment. I will show you how to create a transaction code for Launchpad. I will show you that. You can see one I have already created here, but that's not right now in the game. The game is to understand Theme Designer. So /UI5 Theme Designer is the T code in your front-end system. Remember, anything related to Fiori apps, Launchpad, Theme Designer, Launchpad Designer, everything has to be in the front end, guys. So double click on this. It launches the Theme Designer for us, where we can really now get in and change the look and feel. So these are all the standard themes provided by SAP. Yeah, you can see this is little lock symbol over here, which represents that this is standard theme. You really cannot duplicate, rename, delete, or anything else. Okay, so what you can actually do is use something called Blue Crystal, which is the default theme as of now. Now, just for any information, guys, with Fiori 2.0, which is already launched in the market from SAP, there's a new theme which they've introduced called SAPBW theme. This is one difference between Fiori 1.0 and 2.0. SAP has launched recently SAP Fiori 2.0, and there is a new theme which they have introduced called SAPBW theme. That has become the default theme for SAP applications. Now, why is it that? Because what SAP really trying to do is they want to really harmonize the experience, user experience. So what does it mean? They also have integrated SAP HTML GUI based applications or WebDynpro based applications with SAP Fiori Launchpad. Now, if you look at SAP GUI based applications, they look different as compared to Fiori, and then you look at WebDynpro, that they look also very different. So what SAP really tried here is to harmonize all the user experience by creating a simple theme which harmonizes the UI experience, be the HTML GUI based applications or WebDynpro or UI5 or Fiori. And that's what exactly this SAP Bliss theme does. So with Fiori 2.0, there's a great level of UI harmonization which has been done, and that's what the difference between 1.0 and 2.0 you will find majorly. Now click on open to open up this theme, or you can make a click on open first to create your own theme. So let's click on open. It shows you the default theme, the look and feel for default thing. So now if you now it has actually the moment you say open, it understands that we're now trying to create a theme from these blue crystals. So it created automatically a custom blue crystal theme for you. And now it's asking for which application you want to change the look and feel. So now here I need to enter the URL for my Launchpad. So I have already copied it. So let me just paste it. I want to really change it for my Launchpad. Remember guys, wherever you're giving such a path, never give the whole path, because it's always relative to the current host and port number. So if you see on the top, your host and port number is this. So any path which you're giving is always relative path. Its system understands that this path is with respect to the same server. Okay, so that is the reason you really don't need to give the whole path along with the host and port. So we just copy the relative path and we just name it as Launchpad, and I say add. So it will now show me the Launchpad look and feel today, how the Launchpad is looking like, and at the same time I can make changes to it as per my need. So let's see what happens next. So I clicked on already add, and you can see it's launching up the Fiori Launchpad with all my tiles. Now there are a couple of sections on the right to really change the look and feel. You can also see here to really see these changes immediately being reflected for how will they look like for tablet and mobile. And you can quickly come here and just change a couple of important things like color, font, image, and others. So if you really want to change the background color for the whole of it, you can change it, which is this color, this palette color on the top. Then you have the background gradient color, which is this one you can see at the bottom, and then you have this brand color, base color is gray, and all these things you can really change. So let me show you changing something here, and let's see what happens. So if I just come here, maybe select little blue, you can see it's actually changing immediately. So if I make it little pink, you can see the background color got changed to pink. Yeah. Now when it comes to changing the color for these tile text, that's also possible. You can see the text color over here, so you can really come in here. It's right now black, so maybe I want something of bluish, so just choose the color from here, click on OK. So you can see the text color got changed to blue. Yeah, it got changed to blue. So you have any background images, you can really change the color for that as well. Company logo, so you can see right now none. So let me assign the logo over here. So it's saying drag and drop the image file. So I will drag my image logo file, which is Fiori online Fiori training logo, and let me drop it over here, and I say leave, fine, no problem. Oops, sorry guys. So I got to really now change the logo as well. So open it again, put the URL, add. I did not save it, so the changes are gone. So I'm going to change it quickly again, the background color for the page as well as the logo now. So let it load. Now just go here. Yeah, cool. So we want something of this sort, little lighter. Yeah, okay, cool. And now I also want the text color to change. So I want the text color to be little yellow. So let me change it yellow. Maybe something dark will look nice. So let's see if I can add a brown color. Not really. Okay, let's go green. Cool. So let's go green here. And I say, okay. So you can see the look and feel is really changing. Now before something really happens bad to it, I just right now just save this theme. Okay. So I just save this theme, and now I can choose the name. So let's say my company name is again Walmart. So Walmart branding, and I can say custom theme for Walmart. Now, I'm not a good designer, guys, so don't expect a very good color combination out of me, because sometimes it's all about branding. So how does your company look and feel is, how does your company creates the branding and stuff like that. So all these things you really need to, you know, talk to your company and talk to the branding manager to discuss about the colors to choose from. It's very peculiar about colors. Then you can also see the company logo. So click here, I want to really change it. So I click on plus button to add a logo from my desktop, and that should be the logo for my company, which will come on the top. So if I click on OK, you can see here is where the logo will be placed. Yeah, you can also check quickly in the phone how will it look like, what color it will look like, and see how it is looking in the phone. Quickly check the themes in the landscape mode, in the portrait mode, both the modes you can really see how will it look like. Yeah. Then coming to the next section, here you will see more properties, more deep properties about each thing. You can also see icon colors. Even icon colors are available. So you can see here the icon colors. So I can really change it. You see everything looks like little blue color. So maybe I can change the icon colors to red. You can see brown, it really got changed to brown. So all the icon colors got changed to brown. So that is also you can control a lot of properties, almost every element. It's all controlled by CSS. As we all know what CSS is all about. So they all control this theming for every control, including fields, inputs, labels, list, text colors, borders, backgrounds, almost everything for every control you can change here on this particular page. Yeah. Then comes in the next section. Here you can add new parameters. So these parameters you can access and apply custom theming based on that, but not really useful much. But main thing is this CSS. So if you are good in CSS, you can do magic. Okay, you can really do magic if you are good in CSS. Let me show you some magic really happening here. So I just say add CSS, and you should all remember my first course, guys, that I've already discussed about magical things. So let me try to apply some CSS over here on my tiles. My tile looks very boring, pretty simple white color tiles. I really want to apply special effects on my tiles. So first of all, can anybody tell me, if I really want to know what is the class name for this tile, how will I know? Anybody? What is that should I do to know the class name of my tile? Anyone? What should I do? How can I check the class name? Yes, it's possible to change the background color for the tile. Let me show you. So there must be a way to change the background color for the tile as well. So if you come here to the details section, you will see tile background color. So if I just come here, you can see it's white right now, the tile background color, and you can just go back and really change it. So it's possible to change the tile background color as well. So I'm not sure really. Yeah, you can see it's really changing. So let's use something which is soothing to eyes. Let me just try creating something which is a light color. Yeah, cool. So that's my tile color now, guys. Yeah, but now coming to CSS. So you really need to know the class name of the element really want to apply this styling. Okay. So now what I will do is, how do I know the class name of my tile? Very simple. Just go back to the launchpad, which you're really customizing. Right click over here and say inspect. You will be taken to the DOM, and you will get to know the class name for the whole tile. So if you come here and just scroll up a little bit until it highlights the whole tile, and yes, I think this is the element you can see, and the next element, all the tiles are visible over here. So this is the element which is representing the whole tile. Yeah. So now in this, if you see the class name, it is SAP U shell tile. This is the class name for all the tiles available on my screen. Copy this guy. Come here. Now apply your custom styling. Anybody, what is the symbol to apply style based on class name? Let's see who can answer. Bob, what is the symbol in CSS to identify? Keshava has answered, it's dot. If you are applying style based on class name, it's dot. Guys, remember the first project, guys, very important. Our first learning, CSS, HTML, JavaScript, jQuery. That's the base, that's the bottom line. Remember, dot is the representation for class name based styling. Enter the class name. And anybody, what is the name of pseudo class in CSS if I want to apply style on mouse over? Anybody, what is the name of pseudo class? Remember pseudo class concept in CSS? Perfect answer, Ram has got it right. Hover. Hover is the name. So this is what exactly we will use now. Hover is the pseudo class. So the moment I focus on any tile, means any element which is of class name, this, and when I hover, this particular style will be applied. So I will say change the background to red. Okay, change the background to red. Apply. Immediately you can test. Immediately you can test here. Now, what is that I need to do to test this? Anybody? What should I do to test this change? Anyone? What should I do to test this change, what I applied just now? I just need to hover on the tile. Watch carefully. I'm taking my mouse slowly on the tile and see what happens. See? Wow. The moment I hover my mouse on the tile, it's changing the background color. Let's change it to white. Looks better. apply. See, what a nice look and feel. Change it to red. See, that's what it is. CSS magic. Not yet really magic. Let's see some more. I want to increase the width and height of my tile when I hover. Let's put width to 250 pixels and height as well to 250 pixels on hover. Everything on hover. Apply. See, it's increasing the width and height, but when the increase happening, it's going in the background. You see, you can actually see it, guys. The increase is really happening in the width and height, but it's going in the background. Anybody, which property in the CSS you use to bring the object on the foreground? Anybody, which property in CSS you use to bring the object on the foreground? None of you practiced CSS. Not even a single person, I can guarantee you. I can guarantee with my experience, none of you practiced CSS. You just practice what I taught you. It's the Z index property. This I did not taught you in the course, but none of you put extra effort to check this. Put Z index to 4, it will bring the object in the front end. Let's come back and you see now it's increasing the width and height and putting the object in the foreground mode. Other objects are sent to background. See? Now, what next? Let's do some more magic. I want the transition to happen smoothly. I want to make the width and height changes smooth in 5-second duration. Okay. I want some transition to happen. So I will say transition on the width and height in 5 seconds. Watch carefully. Now hover on it and watch carefully. You will see the transition happening slowly, it is increasing. See? What an effect. Slowly, the tile will increase. That's the transition effect. CSS. A lot you can do. It's amazing. There's a lot you can do, guys. There's a lot you can do. Really, there's a lot you can do.
So next is add sound.
Add sound, yes, it's possible. It's possible, but you'll not be able to hear it because my speakers are muted. Okay. So now next, what else? Let's bring in some outline to this style. So what I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna bring some outline style. So I say outline hyphen style. This is just my interest, guys, because I really like doing these funny things. So this example you will again not find anywhere on internet. This example I was just practicing, preparing for today's class, and I suddenly clicked it in my mind and I started creating it. So okay, so that's an example. Outline style is double, and I can also choose outline color. So all these style properties I found it from w3c.com. Okay, I found all these style properties from w3c.com. Okay, the color is yellow and the style is double. Watch carefully. You got a yellow color border around with the double outline. Yeah, it has got but not really visible with the color combination yet. Cool. So that's about the tile styling. What about the hover on the image? So I really want some more effect. What is the effect I want? You see this title, right? So this title I want to jump. Now before that I really change it to black so that it's visible. This is not really visible. The text color, the tile text color. So I want to really change it, guys, back to black. So come here, instead of green I really want black. So directly go to the corner, should convert it to black. Better. And not really black but dark green it has converted. What about black? Really black I want. ठीक है चलेगा, it's okay. It's okay. It's visible. It's good. So we changed it. Now fine, good. I will also click on save first before anything wrong happens, just to make sure that my branding is being saved time to time basis. Any crash may happen, which may destroy my code. Now come back to CSS. Now I want some flying effect on my texts. Okay, on my these texts, you can see the content of this content of the tile. I want some flying effect on the content. So let's look at what is the class name for the content of the tile. So currently we applied on the tile itself, but what about content of the tile? I want to apply some style. So let's come back, expand the node for the tile, go inside, and you see the content of the tile is represented by SAP U shell tile inner. This is the block which represents the content of the whole tile. Copy this guy, come back. This is something which I've not showed you in the first project, in the first course, but now I was curious to do that. Now I want a flying effect. So there is an API which CSS gives. It's called rotate API. Okay, it's a rotate API. You can rotate the text with on some angle. It's a 2D or 3D rotation. You can really do it. So if you really want to rotate on two-dimensional, either x-axis or y-axis, you can rotate. If you really want on three-dimensional rotation, you can do it at the z-axis as well. So I want to do it on a two-dimensional rotation on the text which is inside the tile, or the whole content of the tile indeed, with 360 degree, which means it will give you effect like it's moving, and it will come back, settle down to its natural place. Okay, its natural place, it will come down and settle down because it's a 360 degree rotation. So when you rotate an object at 360 degree, it will come back to its original position. So that I want to do it on hover again. Whenever I hover mouse on my tile, tile content has to fly around and it has to come back and settle back to its normal position. So that's what I want. So I want this transition duration again. So this transition to take place in 5 seconds. So let me just write the transition duration first, that how much time this transition should take. So transition hyphen duration to 5 seconds. You can really mesmerize your user with all these things, guys. CSS is really very important to apply the style. And then you can really use transform, and then you can mention the API rotate on x-axis. So rotate x by 360 degree. Okay, this is exactly you need to write 360 degree rotate it, and this rotation has to take place in 5-second duration, not below than this. So you can actually observe the rotation is happening and it's coming back to its normal position. Apply and watch carefully the game. Let's come back and focus on the tile, and now let's see. So I applied it, I come back and see it's really going and moving in. See, going down and coming back. See, what an amazing thing. What an amazing stuff. See, it's going, flipping and coming back. 2D rotation of the tile content on x-axis. See, it's going down, flipping and coming back again. In 5 seconds of time, it's rotating at 360 degree angle, which gives an amazing effect to your tile. Such an amazing thing you can do with CSS. Really, your manager or none of your co-employees would have imagined this, that it's really possible. Yes, it's possible with custom styling. If you have the right knowledge, you can really do magic. And of course, why not? You can really attach a sound for every app. In Google, for your kind information, there is a Google Voice API. You can apply the Google Voice API. The moment you hover on the tile, it will pronounce which tile you focused. So you can make your piece of software usable for blind people. Blind people can also use your software if you integrate the Google Voice API along with your Launchpad. I did it one of the project where whichever text you highlight, it's going to speak up using Google Voice API. It's all possible thanks to open source, open standards, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery. That's the heart of the system. On that note, it's a wrap on today's class. Any questions before we close? So we saw theme designer, we saw launchpad, we saw custom branding, changing the logos, removing some text, changing the background screens, managing the objects, writing the override functionality for the exit, and also the backend traces in today's class. In next class, we will start with creating an extension for standard SAP Fiori applications. So we'll try to enhance any standard SAP Fiori application. Yes, it was very interesting class for me as well. Okay. So thanks to all of you guys.
Yeah.
Because of that, I learned a lot. Because of
Anubhav,
you guys, I learned a lot.
on the launchpad.
Sorry.
Can we see these things in the launchpad? As soon as we save this, we can see this launchpad.
Very good question. So I did a lot of effort, but really is it productized? Very good question. So let's save this. Okay, we save this theme. Now, one more thing you can really do, guys, is you can download this complete theme as a package, give it to your anybody, your friends, your colleagues. It's all possible. So you can also export this theme. Now, first of all, you got to save and build so that it becomes productized. So I click on save and build. It's now building this theme, basically packaging it somewhere and storing it in your backend system. So till now it was cached in the browser, but now it's pushing down this theme to the downstream into the backend system, which is nothing but the front end system for you, and it's pushing it down over there and saving the theme into the front end system so that you can really productize it. Okay, so now you can see it has pushed it. Perfect. Now click on OK. What we're going to do next is we will just go back and check for the user. So this is the user here. And now what this user can really do is change the user preference. And you can see custom theme for Walmart. It's available. Select it, say OK. Done. See? User can really see your changes. See, the logo got changed to onlinefiorytrainings.com. When he hovers on it, oops, looks like the settings are not reflecting. Maybe I just got to refresh the cache and reload, empty cache and hard reload, so that all the changes which I really did are reflected. So if I just focus, you can see it's slowly increasing at 3 x-axis 360-degree rotation is also being taken place. Really amazing stuff. It's productive for user now. What if you want to default it for every user? Okay, this is also a good thing. I mean, why would a user know? How would a user, there are 500 people working at different geographical locations. You can't really send an email to everybody asking changing the theme. You want to enforce it. Okay, you want to really enforce it in the system level. How can you really do it? So for that, there is again a transaction code in the SAP system. You can come to that. It is /n/UI2/NWBC underscore CFG configure customizing. This is the transaction code where you can go and set up the parameter for your theme. Now for that, you really need the ID of your theme. So let's come back and check it out, the ID for our theme. So we'll go back to theme designer. Where's my theme designer? Close this. Just click on close. You can see the theme have come. Walmart underscore branding is my theme ID. Right click, copy this. Come back to transaction here. Click on change. Sorry, new entry. And you got to add a filter here. The filter name will be SAP underscore FLP. Parameter name is going to be theme. Click on change. Save it. And now go for change. And now here you put the name of your theme. That's it. Done. It's got defaulted for every user now. It is got defaulted for every user as a default theme. Let me log in as our favorite Fiori server user. I launch it in incognito mode. Go to Fiori Launchpad and try to log in as, try to log in as Fiori server user, not as Anubhav user, because Anubhav has already selected this as the theme. Yeah. So I will choose incognito mode and try to log in as this guy, Fiori server user. So Fiori server user, Press enter, login. It didn't change, which means there is some problem. There is a problem, guys. I really need to check this. Give me some time, I'll check this. This is the parameter which we default usually to make these changes reflectable, but it's not really working out. So if you do it here, it gets defaulted completely, but I'm not sure what's the problem. So I will check this. But user can still go ahead, and if user knows about it, user can choose their preferences, and the theme can be selected, and it will become the default theme for everybody. Yeah, so let me make it default. People will come to this, really get to know. So you can come here, just refresh, so that your effect also gets loaded accordingly. And now you can see it's really doing the magic thanks to SAP UI5. Along with that, CSS. SAP UI5 doesn't become the bottleneck for the developers. This was the statement which I given you in the first course. It also applies here on the Launchpad. And that's what SAP Fiori Launchpad we learned about. If you really look back the PPT, what we learned about Launchpad initially, what is SAP Fiori Launchpad? It fully satisfies the definition now for the Launchpad. Whatever capabilities we have seen now, it's all completely completely satisfied now by the Launchpad. So I'm not sure where is my slide for Launchpad. Looks like it's no more there. Some problem. So that's what we discussed about SAP Fiori Launchpad. It's highly configurable. You can have custom binding, custom theming, all the stuff. It is one single point for end users to access all the Fiori apps, all that we talked about, and that's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is. So that's it for the session today. Let's meet tomorrow and we'll see extension of our first Fiori standard Fiori app. So we will enhance or probably change our first standard Fiori app, and from tomorrow we will start SAP Web IDE, really SAP Web IDE. So that's it. Have a nice day. Good.
One last question.
Yes, please.
So one last question. So suppose I want to the letters want to be in Telugu, the English, want to apply the language pack, convert to Telugu.
Okay.
For the like demonetization is happening, right? And making online payments. The rural people, they don't know English, they only know Telugu.
Problem.
How to apply is it possible the language pack?
So for that, actually you need to use I-89 in your project. So you must be creating a Fiori app, right? So when you create a Fiori app, what you really do, you remember our first course, we created a Fiori app, and there we have an I-89 file. In that we maintain all the settings, right? So that's the place where you should write it. All the text translated to all the languages in I-89 files. And then from there it will pick up the tile title. So in tomorrow's class I will show you, when I show you the manifest.json file, in there is a section called title in manifest.json. So that title is what will be picked up by SAP Fiori Launchpad for the tiles by default. So if you launch it in a different language, it hits the applications, hits the manifest file for each application, picks up the right label from the right file, translation text, and then it will display the tile title. Right now what we created is hard coded, but typically it won't happen. For standard Fiori app also it will pick up in the respective language when you log in. So you can see here SAP-language is English. If I just change it to German, what you will see, it will change it to Germany, all the titles, because it's all coming from I-89 from the applications. So you can see some of them already got changed. You can see this one, it got changed to German, but some of them, they are hard coded because the tiles were created as hard coded text. That's why they are not translated. But you see most of the texts are already translated to German language. You can see my leave request, my benefits. So all these things are already translated because the tiles have been picked up. The titles have been picked up from the application descriptor, which provides these texts from the I-89 file. So that's the root. We will talk about it in detail when we will really enhance or look at the structure of a Fiori app in the next class. So there you will also understand it. Very valid question. Yeah. Hope you're okay, Bob. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's it. See you tomorrow. See you. Have a nice day. Goodbye.